Welcome to TKO, also known as
Trending with Keisha and Ori.
If it's trending, we're talking about it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the TKO podcast. I'm Ori, that's Keith. What up, Keith?
What's up, Ori?
What's going on?
Nothing, man.
Chilling.
See you on here with the fresh cut, bro.
Man,
so
listen.
Clearly, your state has opened back up because I don't see you rocking no hat this time.
Yo, I had to do it. Just celebrated another year of life and my birthday, so I had to get a birthday cut. Couldn't wait. I'm sorry to my barber. You know who you are. No disrespect. I had to do it. I had to. Man. But anyway, it's been a crazy, few weeks. And I actually had a couple of days off, I don't know if you knew, but I needed this time off after what was going on and stuff. So, we're going to still kind of talk about what we talked about last week, a little serious topic, and then we'll get into some sports discussions. But Keisha, with everything that's been going on in the world and the, protests and things like that, where do you think, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here after the protests? What's next?
That's like a loaded question. We talk about this kind of stuff all the time. I don't think there's one right answer, or one answer that would satisfy everybody. I think we're definitely past the point of, well, not past, but we need to start to take the next step forward beyond, the conversations at work, the corporations coming out in support of systemic change, the commercials that we're seeing, the big donations, all those things will help. But what we want to do is make sure that it's not just lip service. So what I would like to see is, once these funds are allocated, I would like to see some plans from Black America collectively, nationally. We need a national plan for systemic change, and then we need plans in states. And then, we have to come together in our cities so that we can, correct the protect and serve part of the police departments. I think what we've moved into now is that defunding of the police, and police are bad and it's us against them. And I think that's the wrong messaging. I think we have to work together. I think absolutely bad police need to go. And for that to happen, good police have to stand up. So in a way, what we've been seeing in the country as far as the silent majority speaking up on behalf of the global majority, we need to see that in these different parts of systemic racism. So in the police departments, in the mayor's offices, in our judicial system. So that's what I would like to see. I would like to see a lot of lip service turn into action, because otherwise all this outrage and anger and hurt and conversations will all be for naught. I mean, we've had conversations at our jobs, and, I'd like to see some action. I'm not looking for apologies and thoughts. I just want to see behaviors change, and I want to see systems change.
Yeah, I don't even know, Keish. I'm kind of with you too. Obviously, I want to see things, be different. Make sure that if we're really truly on the process of making things better, like if we have everybody's here and they're listening, and now they believe what we say and things like that that's going on. I want to see some policy changes. I want to see culture changes.
Absolutely.
I think that we have to be honest and, know that things have to change. It doesn't mean that, like, for instance, I think you brought up the funding of police. I know a lot of people don't agree with that. Some people don't even understand it. Some people
and it's just because they hear that word defund. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Defund,
It,
it sound, people interpret it as abolish, and that's not
right.
what it is.
Yeah, nobody wants to get rid of police. I
Right,
mean, like, we need
right,
people here to protect us and
right,
serve and
right,
things like that.
right.
Um, yeah, but I think I think culture is going to have to change. I think attitudes are going to have to change. Um, Unfortunately, these things, in my opinion, are not going to change in right away in my lifetime, your lifetime. I'm hoping that um, the next generation that things really change. But at least this is the start. Um, all this energy that everybody has right now. Hope they keep that same energy when things go back to the new normal, because it'll be a normal, but we know it's going to be a new normal after COVID. Our lives won't be the same
Right.
anymore. So whatever that new normal is, I think that I hope people keep that energy, that same energy, and really focus on, trying to make things better. I think what we're really talking about really is just simple, like just treating people right, respectfully, equally, and I don't think that's a hard thing to do. I think that's easy, but then I think then it goes on with, culture, how you interact with people, how you treat people, is it necessary to use certain things? I'll talk about the police per se. Is it necessary to use the type of force that they use? Sometimes it is, sometimes maybe not so much. Um, I think that attitudes have to change. And I think for some people who want change right away, they might have to wait. And it's a shame that they're going to have to wait for that. It's just that, um, obviously, some of the things that we're talking about, it's been going on for 400 plus years. And if you want to look at the end of slavery, you're talking about 100 and 40 something years. You're talking about civil rights. You're talking about going on like 55 years. You know what I mean? We're talking about, if we're talking about one aspect in particular of police brutality and things being caught on camera. I mean, really, I would have to say Rodney King in 1992 was the first thing that shed on light. Talking about, that's almost 30 years ago.
Right.
So, these things take time, So, I hope in our lifetime we see some changes. I don't think we're going to see all the change that we want to see. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful things work
You're
out.
always hopeful, Ori, but it's like life is like this
Box of
COVID
chocolates.
19 that I gained. You know what I'm saying? That 19 ain't going away no time soon, bro. The bad stuff is always easier to pile on.
Right.
It takes much longer to break that down.
Right.
Especially when you're asking people. It's one thing to be out there and stand with me, but now you got to take some action. And I think that's when we're going to see how real these companies and our Facebook friends and our coworkers, how real they are about change. Because, going into our next topic, hit that horn, bro. You asking elite athletes to stop attending these PWIs and start heading to HBCUs, you might get some pushback on that. But I
Yeah. What's your
think
thoughts?
that's just that's one of those action steps, and it's something that the athletes and their parents and their families should consider, um, because you gotta make a stand at some point. You gotta let people know that Black people as a community will stand together. If you don't hear us, if you don't want to hear us, then like LeBron took his talents to South Beach, we can take our talents to institutions that will love on our kids, that will teach our kids to respect themselves, that will give our kids the proper history, not just in February, but to let them know that their history didn't begin and end with slavery or being enslaved, and that we are worth it. Our institutions are worth it. Why can't an HBCU educate you as much as a PWI?
Right.
So there's a misconception, I think, amongst young elite athletes that as a community we need to do better messaging. HBCUs need better messaging, and they need help from top professional athletes. There's a lot of talk. LeBron should send Bronny to a HBCU, but right now Bronny wants to go to Duke. But
Mm-hmm.
why can't they bring that same attention to HBCU, who desperately needs the resources? And it's really not about separating white athletes and black athletes. It's about showing your power,
Power.
showing the power of your talent, showing the power of your intellect, the power and the value of your dollar, and saying to people, if you don't want to educate me, if you want to hold me down, then I want to go to a place that will love on me,
Mm-hmm.
because I know I'm raising a young king who's going to be a top NBA prospect. I'm just going to put that out there.
Hold up.
I'm not going. I'm not
Say
going
that
to show
again.
him right. I am raising a young king
Mm-hmm.
who's going to be a top NBA prospect. Hey, hey, hey. You know what I'm saying? And I want him to be in a place that will love on him, that will teach him to value himself, not just because of his athletic talents or abilities, but also just as being a black man in America, and to be honest with him about his history, where he comes from, to pick up where I leave off, so that when he leaves my household, I know that he's going to be in the hands of people who care about him. So I think that's what it's about, going to HBCUs, more so than, oh, they don't like us, let's just go to black schools. It's deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to start showing the value in that messaging.
Right. So full disclosure, neither one of us attended HBCUs. We attended the
Mm,
Great though Temple University is not HBCU, so stop it,
mm,
okay? It's not. We are graduates of the Great Temple University, but
Thank
um,
you.
to you, honestly, my first Keisha, I don't know if I told you this, but my first choice was Howard University, and I
So
got
is mine,
accepted to.
bro.
Hmm.
So is mine. I got
Oh, okay.
accepted to
Yeah.
Howard.
Oh, work. Yep, I got
Yeah.
accepted to Howard.
Quick story, don't mean to interrupt. The reason
Yep.
I didn't go was because my mom worked for Temple. So I went to Temple, like I cried. She enlisted her nieces and nephews, my cousins, to tell me the value of going to Temple on a free tuition remission. So I paid no tuition. I didn't pay for books. All my grant money I pocketed. I got me I got my own apartment. So that's why I didn't go to Howard, to be honest.
Listen, I mean that's a smart move. I mean if you're not going to go to the great institution like Howard University, and our school is no stop. Temple's a great school too, especially for what we do professionally.
Mm-hmm.
On the top, you know, uh, so many graduates all over the country graduate from Temple, and all you see in your TV,
Yeah.
radio, things like that. So, we're no stops, but to go to school for free, man, look, I'm like, you going to use my kid? I'm gonna say the same dang old thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but like I said, full disclosure, obviously we didn't go, but they were our choices. It wasn't like we didn't consider them.
Right.
Um, and for me, it was too much of a financial burden for my parents to
Right.
send me
Out of
there.
state. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of the reasons why I attended Temple University. But to answer your question, um, so the great Jamel Hill, who I have so much respect for, and full disclosure, one of the reasons why we do this podcast, at least one of the reasons why I do it, is I was watching Jamel Hill and Michael Smith for years, and they were great at doing all kinds of things like sports and things like that. So hopefully we can get like 1% of what they did, Keisha. And I think we're gonna get there. But getting back to the get back to the question, um, yeah, I quote the story of the Mikey Williams, this kid who's a sophomore right now. He's considering going to an HBCU, and with what's going on in the world right now, you're absolutely right. We absolutely have power. And I'm really going to talk about the two main sports, college football and college basketball. Keisha, can you imagine, especially first of all, college football? And I know how you feel. I know how you feel about football, Keisha, but we got to keep it 100. Can you imagine if the top high school football players said, we're not going to Ohio State, we're not going to Miami, we're not going to Texas, we're not going to USC, we're not going to Notre Dame, we're going to go to Howard University, we're going to go to Morehouse, we're going to go to Alcorn State. Can you imagine all that money would fluctuate and go into those schools? And those campuses, we would build big stadiums like they have at University of Florida or a few hours away from where at Penn State University. Can you imagine that? If these high school athletes say, you know what, we're going to go there, the top ones. Oh, the TVs will follow.
It would start a powerful conversation in this country as far as the value of Black athletes.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, like I said, I don't see our generation, but maybe the next generation, like you said, maybe your child is going to be top level high school athlete. Maybe he will attend. If he doesn't attend Temple University, then he probably should attend, you know, some of these top HBCUs. And we're not saying obviously don't go to, right, PWIs. Obviously, like I said, we graduated from PWI and whatnot. I love Temple. But we're just talking about with what's going on in the world right now as far as showing their power. Can you imagine if the top prospects went to those schools? I mean, it would be off the chain. And it's not like, I'm going to say one thing real quick. It's not like HBCUs, especially in NFL and football, have not gone into the NFL. It's so many HBCU guys that are in the Hall of Fame, Keisha. Right. Hall of Fame. Right. So we know every year there's top prospects there are prospects that come out of HBCUs and get to professional level. But now imagine if all the top guys went there.
Right. And that has to be a conversation just because the way the world is trending. Right now, a lot of people feel it's not safe for Black men in certain parts of America. So if your life is in jeopardy because you go to a PWI, and when you step off campus and you don't have that jersey on and people just see you for the color of your skin, that's a real issue that athletes, or just even if you're not an athlete, just a Black person going to a PWI in a certain part of this country, those are the things they have to worry about. They have to worry about being stereotyped. They have to worry about being accused of, oh, you're here because of affirmative action. They have to worry about being undervalued and underestimated. And if you want that conversation to change, you take your intellect, your talents, your humanity to a place that's going to love on you and build you up, as opposed to criminalizing you and putting you down. And part of that also is changing the conversation around the value and the worth of HBCUs, which right now I think aren't considered, they're considered substandard in some cases to PWIs. Like there was this athlete, Kayvon Thibodeau, in 2018. He looked at FAMU. Maybe his family was pushing him there, but then he ultimately ended up picking the University of Oregon. And he said, nobody wants to eat McDonald's when you could get a filet mignon. Yeah. And that's coming out of a young Black athlete's mouth. So where is he learning that? They're being fed the notion that you won't get the eyes, you won't get the value. Top teams, professional teams won't look at you the same. And that's a lack of understanding their power and their personal value.
Right. I mean, and in some ways I can kind of see what he's saying, because if you do see, some of the facilities or the practice facilities, the field, things like that, they're not like, the level of.
Well, yeah, because it's a lack of resources. So how do you get those resources?
Right. So
they have to be told, you bring the resources. There's so many eyes on you. If you come as a collective, the resources will follow. Right. And that's what I meant when I said, they don't understand their power.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So, hoop time.
I mean, if you're going to talk about sports, you might as well talk about professional sports, right? Since they're trying to make their comeback in 2020. Thoughts on NBA? I'd be glad to see it. I don't know how this in a bubble and quick wrap up season is going to play out, but it's
Hmm.
always good to see competitive sports come back into play.
Right.
But then, I mean, if you're being honest, there are big things going on in the world. Like earlier, you were like, it's been a rough few weeks. 2020 has been trash. Like the whole year. It's just been just one catastrophe after another. Not
Yep.
just publicly, but in people's private lives.
Right.
Things have just become super difficult. Um,
Absolutely.
so, I mean, I'm concerned about COVID-19, how they're going to control the spread. Um, I'm also concerned about um, the momentum that we have in this movement right now of trying to change things in the country. Would it take away from that or would it add to it? I don't think, I think I see both sides of the argument. I
Hmm.
think there's value in both. Just like, we talked about the power of a collegiate athlete taking their talents to a HBCU. There's power in the NBA or football, whoever, professional black athletes sitting out a season and saying, until we're equal as men, I don't care to entertain you. At the same time, let's bring it back and use our voices, just use our power in a positive way. Whatever they decide to do, there has to be action behind it.
Right.
So whether you start the seasons or not, because now I understand football is in question now, which I don't
Right.
really care about. But you know what I'm saying? So it's like whichever way it goes, you have to find the power in it and it can't stop the momentum. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
No, I got you. Um, yeah, I think first of all, I am excited about it coming back. There were a couple of things that I saw. And I don't know if you heard or saw this. So obviously, Kyrie Irving,
Mm-hmm.
Dwight Howard, Avery Bradley, as you were kind of talking about, possibly sitting out, focus with what's going on in the world, Black Lives Matters, things like that, possibly sitting out. Um, so one of the things that I saw was that if the players, let's say they all of them decided not to come back, then that could actually mess up the CBA. So then the CBA will basically be
Okay.
void. So there's which is not good actually for the
Right.
players. So
Right.
some of those max dollars, in fact, like Kyrie Irving, he would actually lose money.
Right.
So
And some
they got
people say that's like because he's willing to sacrifice that. But then there's
right,
other people saying he's only talking this because they didn't qualify for the
right,
bubble team. So
yeah. Um, you know, I'll take him at his word. He said some things that I have not agreed with, but okay, I'll take him at his word.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think in the same way he's shown their power, that really they could actually start their own league. And I think Kyrie Irving actually did say something like that. Like we should just go ahead and just start our own league. They have the power to do that. I feel like the NBA lately their relationship with the players have been pretty good. I think
Mhm.
Adam Silver is doing a great job. And I don't feel like the owners um I think they value them as equals. Like I don't think they value them as just workers only. But don't get me wrong. If players say, "Hey, we want to start our own league," I would absolutely go for that. If all the top guys went, again, if you're the top guys, the money and the people and the cameras and the fans, they will follow.
Well,
So
yeah, if you look at Ice Cube's 3-on-3 league or whatever,
yeah,
it gets traction. They have the power, but if to just bring it back to this season, I think they all have the right to feel the way that they feel. But you take a vote, majority rules. If the majority of the players want to play, I don't see anything wrong with that because if you look at what's going on in the MLB, you know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
they have essentially no power. It's like
yeah,
the commissioner is like, listen, So it seems like the NBA has more say so. Adam Silver did say that people who didn't want to play wouldn't be penalized.
Right.
So I think that's a step in the right direction because you're allowing the player to stand on their principle instead of just saying, "Hey, entertain me." So I think that's a positive. If you don't want to
Mhm.
play, you don't have to play.
Right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you don't want to play, you don't have to play. And I think the players have the ability to do both. And I think fans have the ability to do both as well. I don't think just because basketball comes back doesn't mean I can't focus what's going on in the world. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like we're multifaceted people. I think our
You can
intellect and
walk
our
and
attention.
chew gum at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and actually, it might enhance their platform if they're playing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's necessarily a wrong answer. I don't want to see now. I don't want to see the guys lose money because
Right.
that money they're making is generational wealth, and they can put it and fund things that will help people in the community. So, you know
Right.
what I mean? But if they are going to go out and say, well, we're not playing, then they need to have an action. If you're not going to play,
Then
and
what are
this is
you gonna
very
do?
serious to you, tell me what the plan is. Let me
Yeah.
know what and how how you want to come about that. Is this something? Are you ready to say, well, I understand it's not going to happen today. It might happen 2 years from now. Like, what's the trajectory of what you're trying to accomplish? You
And
know?
it seems most basketball analysts have that mindset that they don't see the power in not coming back. Stephen A, Charles Barkley, Kendrick Perkins. There's very few that I've heard that agree with Kyrie. And I understand there were several players who agree with him, and those players can sit out. But they did take a vote, just like in the WNBA. They're also coming back. Instead of playing their 34 games, they're playing 22. I think they should have kind of been, hopefully on television they'll stack the games. I've always thought they should do that just to get more eyes on them. But
Mm-hmm.
they're also going to be in Florida, but they're going to be at the IMG Academy. They're getting paid their full salaries. And
Understood.
that commissioner followed suit with the NBA and said, we understand if you don't want to play, you don't have to play. Because they also had some members who did not agree with the decision to come back, but they're not going to be penalized. So I think that's the way to go. If you're going to come back, whether you're in fear, because a lot of them are mothers,
Mm-hmm.
so a little, a little more responsibility than the NBA in that front. So they're giving them the option of bringing their kids based on how many years they've been playing.
Right.
So it's interesting that both leagues they're very much player oriented.
Right.
So I think that, it'll be cool to see some basketball on the television that's not 20 years old.
Right.
Although that's been nice, to watch
Yes.
real basketball be played,
Right.
see a couple fights, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be exciting to see it come back. But if they put a pause on it, I wouldn't be brokenhearted. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
True.
So
True. All right, Keish. Well, that's it. Let's wrap this joint up, as we say in Philly.
I don't really agree. I don't know the last time I said John. That could be a whole nother conversation. To
All
me,
right.
the word has become overused as Philly
Okay. Y'all
slang.
hear that, people?
Just put a
We're
put
gonna
a.
have a
That's my
upcoming.
cliffhanger.
That's your cliffhanger. Gonna have an upcoming episode on the word John. The national people out there,
Yes.
start looking at it, start reading about it and whatnot. It is one of the coolest words to say. If you watch the Smurfs,
That
you'll understand what I'm
no
saying.
that chicken Creed ruined the word as far as I'm concerned. She just throw the whole word away. Anyway, well, thanks everybody for checking us out once again. To keep the TKO podcast trending with Keisha and Ori. If it's trending, we're talking about it. And just leave us your likes, your shares. Make sure you like and share. Leave us your comments. Um, Always be on the right side of this show and agree with me. And then if you're not stable in your mind, you might see Ori's point of view. But thanks for checking us out, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
And Keisha, real quick, where can they find us?
They can find us on YouTube, TKO Podcast YouTube channel, and anywhere podcasts are streaming.
Right.
Check us out.
All right. Thanks, everybody. All right, Keish.
Peace.
Peace.